What is up, everybody? Welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I am Rockin Robbie Billups. It's Friday. That means it's time for the topic-driven Rex and Robbie show, and you can't have the Rex and Robbie show without Rex. What is up, homie?
What's up, buddy? Happy Friday, man.
Happy Friday. TGIF. You having a good Friday so far?
I can't complain too much. Not yet, anyway. But hey, the day's early yet, so give me some time. But so, how you feeling? How you feeling this weekend between the Cowboys and the Niners?
I had a conversation last week with my buddy Robbie, who's Robbie from a parallel universe, but he's a different dude named Robbie, and he's a Bills fan, and I'm a Cowboys fan, and we both kind of want a Bills Cowboys 90s nostalgic, Super Bowl. And we were talking about it, and I was like, the only team that truly scares me in the NFC right now are the 49ers. And he goes, the only team that really scares me is the Bengals. And that's who both teams got to play this weekend. So it's gonna be a nail biter. Like I'm nervous. I feel good after Monday night's game. I'll tell you that. I was really surprised at how the Cowboys handled that, not including Brett Maher, obviously. That was a little something, but I was really, really, really surprised and pleased with the way the Cowboys handled Monday night. That's just me, though.
Well, I will say this. I did read an article which may keep you up at night. It was a very well thought out article about, and it was Tony Dungy's opinion, actually. And unfortunately, beyond the X's and O's on the field and the plays and whatever, and we've talked about that endlessly, he pointed out something, I guess, as a former head coach, is something you've got to take into consideration. If you look at the time that the Niners game ended and you look at the time you guys played Monday night, right? So the Niners have had a lot more time to recuperate, because you think about it. So Dallas had to play the Monday night, fly back to Texas, and now they got to fly back to the Bay Area to play. And, I'm reading this article and forget all the things that people talk about, all the talking heads on ESPN and everything else. I'm looking at that and I'm going, wow, that's a big, that does make a big difference. I mean, literally, you're looking at what? Couple days?
Yeah.
And in the world of football, a couple days, man, Jalen Hurts shouldn't have played in that last Eagles game against the Giants, but they had to play him because they had to secure the number one seed to get the bye. Yeah. Right. So he kind of muscled through it. And I see the importance of that now. If only they could have if Minshew could have just taken one of those games and locked it up, that would have given Jalen Hurts like an extra week to like kind of recover and heal. And that's a really relevant point I hadn't really thought about.
Yeah, you're 100% right on that, and that's one of the reasons why the playoffs start really separating things out, right? Because there's a lot more teams that have to do that. They're on the road, they're staying on the road, right? And it feels like that. And I think we got a great coaching staff. I don't think we have a great head coach. You know what I'm saying? And I am worried about, because of the Cowboys displaying inconsistencies, especially in the second half of this season, it does have me worried that, one mistake against the Niners and that game could be over. You know what I'm saying? And I just hope what's that?
The Niners have a lot of weapons. That's your problem, is even if you're scoring, they can score as well, very quickly too. So that becomes concerning. And if they get that running game going, you got big problems. My
one thing that I keep thinking about is hopefully Purdy has a lot of nerves when he's playing, but we'll see what happens. I don't know. We'll see.
I think you would have seen that more last game, because his first playoff game and they were coming for him and they were going to try to.
But we're America's team. Okay, Rex. Now, I'll tell you what, I'd much rather be playing the Giants at home. So I hope you enjoy your game this weekend.
You can never count anybody out. But yeah, I'm certainly less concerned than you would be, about how this goes down. But America's team. Oh my gosh. Only Cowboys fans keep saying that, dude. Nobody else says it. I think some journalist coined the phrase like decades ago, and it is just stuck.
Yeah, I appear to be having internet issues, so I don't know if you can hear me or see me right now. So I hope everything's fine.
I can hear you. I can see you. You're a little glitchy, but
okay. Well, good. Should be a good weekend of football, though, regardless. And I just hope that I hope that the 49ers Cowboys games, regardless of the outcome, I hope it's a good game. I just hope it's not like a blowout one way or the other. Well, it could be a blowout one way, and I'd be cool with it.
Oh, well, yeah. I find that unlikely, unfortunately, Pally.
All right. So the topic today is Thunderbolts. So, Rex, why don't you kick us off? The question's simple. Are we excited for Thunderbolts? Are we?
You know, they've been talking about it for so long, right? And you know, after you said it was going to be today's topic, I went ahead and I found something interesting here. I found an article that says, like, all right, so now it looks like Ghost may not be in it. And then somebody said earlier they were first in the room. I can't find it now. Who was it? Somebody commented it sounded like, you know, with the rumors of Hyperion, it sounded a little bit like, there it is, Hopeful Falls. That's right. You know, that it's like a watered down version of The Boys. I hadn't really thought of it that way, but yeah, you know, now that the suggestion has been made, yeah, I'm kind of like, yeah, it does. I mean, I don't know. I think a better question is anything that they're churning out currently, has that really got anybody excited? You know,
well, I would say, for instance, and this is, you know, so news just came out, y'all, that Thunderbolts is being, man, my internet keeps going in and out here. I might have to dip out and reset and come back. Go ahead, Rex. What were you saying?
No, what I'm saying is that it's not just Thunderbolts. It's anything that they're churning out right now. Does anybody feel, you know, like, yeah, you know, that Endgame kind of, Endgame's coming out. Does anybody feel that kind of excitement at this point? You know, this is an issue that we kind of touched on before. You know, from a different angle, is it so saturated now that you know, that you just can't get excited about it, right?
Yeah, I mean, can you still hear me and see me, man?
I'm getting yeah.
Okay. Yeah. If I glitch out, just let me know, and let me know if you can't understand me or if I'm like, but you were talking about like with the Hyperion thing, right? And giving us vibes of The Boys, right? Which obviously The Boys, we're talking about Homelander. Homelander's kind of like an evil version of a Superman type, which we've seen before, and Hyperion existed in comics before Homelander did, right?
Right.
But with the success of The Boys, I wouldn't put it past Marvel to try to lean heavy into that, like a more Homelander version of Hyperion, because Hyperion and Homelander are way different characters, right? So it'd be interesting to see what they do there. When I was first hearing about the Thunderbolts thing, my first reaction was, this sounds like they're just going, and this is what they've done with the Thunderbolts at Marvel Comics lately, is they've become Marvel's version of the Suicide Squad, which is not what the property was to begin with. It was villains pretending to be heroes, but then once that kind of became known, a core group of these villains loved this road of redemption that they were on, right? And I see that there's some potential for that in this with the cast. And when they revealed the cast, my initial reaction was kind of lackluster because I was expecting Baron Zemo. I wanted to see some of those earlier Thunderbolts characters like a Songbird or even a Mach 5, but those aren't big names. But then again, Marvel's been able to do, you know, movies without the big name characters and have them have success, like we've been talking about with Guardians of the Galaxy, for instance. But my first reaction is they're all Captain America wannabes. They're all like people that have super soldier serum, and most of them have a shield. You got Winter Soldier, you got Red Guardian, you got US Agent, you got Taskmaster, and even Black Widow. She just doesn't have a shield, right? So to me, I'm like, there's not a lot of diversity as far as personality. I mean, there's some personality dynamic diversity that we can see in this film, but there's not a lot of like diversity as far as the characters and their abilities and their action. Now, obviously, Harrison Ford's been cast as Thunderbolt Ross, so we're probably going to get Red Hulk. I hope we still get Abomination. I hope Baron Zemo makes an appearance. So, but it didn't initially inspire me to be excited to check out this film.
It did or it did not?
It did not.
Okay. Just so you know, your audio is fine, but your video is glitching.
Okay.
All right.
I might have to dip out for a second. You just carry on if I do.
All right. Well, that's not a problem. But Ouroboros snake. Yeah, it is kind of hard to get excited anymore with all the saturation right now. You know, that really is the problem. Is that I'm not sure if everybody can even hear me at this point because I'm still looking at Robbie here on the screen. But I'll just talk like you can still hear me. So it's, you know, going back to Robbie's beloved America's team, the Cowboys. If the Cowboys won the Super Bowl every year, how excited would Robbie be every year? You know, it's kind of like that. So it's a little difficult. Okay, good, thank you. I wasn't sure because it's Robbie's live stream, so I'm not sure how that would work out. Yeah, you know, so I think it's a recurring problem is that they've put so much stuff out there at this point that it's kind of hard to get excited about anything. You know, when we had Endgame and the closeout of all of that, it had been building and building, and I don't feel like there was that saturation. Well, Trade Paper Dad, we were just talking about that, is that the rumor now is Ghost will not be in it. The article didn't say why, but it just said that Ghost may not be in it. So how does that affect me? I like the Ghost character. Would have liked to have seen her in the show, but I don't know. I mean, the whole thing is just, I feel like we're constantly, there's always something coming out, that it's hard to really get excited. I don't know. I mean, you guys, I want to find out what the viewers are thinking about this as well. I believe Zemo needs to be incorporated into it, but again, how much difference is this really going to make? I don't know. Julia Dreyfus, you know, I like that character. I think that'll be interesting. So I don't know. Will I watch it? Yes. Okay. But yeah, am I excited about it? I don't want to say I'm really excited about it. You know, it wasn't like when Avatar, The Way of Water was coming out. Like, I was excited about that. Okay. You know, movies that you kind of want to see, but it just feels like they've beat us over the head. And then, you know, you have all the nonsense happening over in the DC universe with what they're doing there as well. Oversaturation. You just feel like there's so much out there. It's hard to really get excited about anything. I hope Red Hulk makes a difference, as apparently he's at the forefront of the film. I agree. You know, you big name star, obviously, in Harrison Ford. So we'll see where that takes us. But again, I got to say that from my personal perspective, I'm not feeling any excitement. It's just kind of like yet another news cycle day. But I do like Red Guardian. I really like, you know, I'm one of the few that actually enjoyed Black Widow. So I am kind of excited that he's going to be in it. I love the actor as well. I kind of like that the way that character was portrayed. You know, but other than that, I got to tell you, I'm not feeling it. I don't know. So, yeah, Missing Link. Kind of shocked to see Harrison come to Marvel for this role as well. You know, I kind of shocked that they're redoing the Indiana Jones, the final movie as well. So I'm not sure what's going on with him. Maybe he's trying to close out his career and lock up his legacy, so to speak. I don't know. But I have to admit, I was a little surprised when they named him. Hey, Two Gun, what's going on, man? Let's see. Maybe Ouroboros Snake. You know, maybe it's a short role. I don't know. I mean, but supposedly they. What plans were scrapped? Hold on, I'm trying to see. Ouroboros Snake says something was scrapped. Let me see. Yeah, a Missing Link. That's a good point. Yeah, he didn't want much screen time in Force Awakens. I don't know. Maybe it's a personal thing on the Harrison Ford end. Maybe he sees it differently. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. Because Star Wars, you got to look at it from Harrison Ford's career standpoint. Star Wars was a jumping off point for him, obviously. And I think he was already in his 40s at that point. So, you know, there might be some resentment there. But, you know, I was surprised he came back for Indiana Jones. I really didn't think they were going to try to close it up that way, but they are. And that's what I'm excited about seeing. I don't know if that's a sense of nostalgia per se, or if it's really just I'm excited because I'm going to say it's nostalgia. I'll be honest with you. I'm going to have to say it's nostalgia. And it's nostalgia movies that have really kind of, at least for me, Missing Link to Harrison Ford is just a paycheck. Maybe, but he should. I would have thought in his career he's made more than enough money. If he didn't want to do it anymore, he really shouldn't have to. But I got to admit that of late, the nostalgia aspect of movies have been what's kind of getting me excited about something that's upcoming. So whether it be something like Top Gun Maverick or the Indiana Jones movie, things that are kind of it maybe Marcus, things that have brought that nostalgia with this superhero kind of MCU, DC, the whole DC thing. We've talked about this on Robbie Show before. Very optimistic about James Gunn, being in that role, and then Safran and two of them trying to map out a plan for the next 10 years. Really excited, but really, I think everybody feels the same way. We keep reading about it. We keep watching what's going on with DC Universe because it's like a bad car accident almost. You can't stop looking. They've made such a ridiculous mess, and the rumors just keep flowing out there. It's just amazing to me. The rumors about this or that, and they seem to have too many leaks. And hopefully Gunn and Safran's going to be able to close that loop. But I think they're trying to. So Mark McGrath says, love Harrison Ford, but would have used Clancy Brown. Well, maybe. I don't know. I mean, maybe they felt like they needed the Harrison Ford superstar sort of power to generate interest. And I could see that making sense. You're sitting in a boardroom with a bunch of executives talking about this, and you say, we need something to really grab them in here. Let's go get Harrison Ford. I could see that being thrown around a conference room table. Do I have a most anticipated film currently? Let me think. I will watch all the MCU movies. I am excited to see them come out in that sense, but if I had to say most anticipated, I got to be honest. And if you've watched Robbie's show before, or seen some of our shows before, I got to tell you, probably Dune would be it. And I have the books, the original movies in the 80s, and then the last one in that. I feel like thank you, Missing Link. I am as well. So for me, Dune would probably be the most anticipated. There he is.
Hey, what's up?
I was thinking maybe you went to the Waffle House or something to get something to eat. Just like, the heck with it. I'll just leave right now.
I tried to reboot everything and it wasn't working still. Like there's something up with my internet, but I'm on my hotspot now, so it should be fine. I'm fine, right?
Yeah. So we we're drifted off a little bit. I mean, what we talked about was, once again, we go back to the saturation point. Is there anything that the MCU is putting out this year that I'm really excited about? And then Ouroboros Snake asked me if there was any movie that I was really anticipating, and a lot of viewers agreed with me. I'm looking forward to Dune as well. That I'm anticipating, but that also feels like a bit like nostalgia. That was the other thing I was talking about. It seems like the movies that I'm anticipating or really excited to go see, if I haven't seen it already, are those nostalgia type of movies. So whether it be Top Gun Maverick or Avatar: Way of Water, and even Dune to a certain extent, right? Is to me a nostalgia movie. The books, the original movies in the 80s, and then now they're trying to the horrendous television series that I think what was Sci-Fi Channel or whatever several years back to this latest version of which I really enjoyed. So, but that also feels like John Wick. Brian. Yes, I am excited about John Wick, and that's not really nostalgia. That's been a really surprisingly good series of movies. Like Keanu Reeves, didn't try like Dracula to miscast Keanu and force him to use an accent of some type, which he did not do. We talked about that before, so I am excited about John Wick. That has been one of the new kind of. But kind of like a superhero, I guess, sort of in a way.
Yeah. Now, I do think that there are there are more exciting MCU projects on the horizon, I think, for a lot of fans, even this year, because we got the Guardians 3, which is concluding that James Gunn trilogy, which I'm looking forward to. We've got a lot of people. I know it's an Ant-Man movie, but a lot of people, I think, at least from what I'm hearing and what I'm feeling too, is I'm rather excited to see Jonathan Majors as Kang and Ant-Man. So I think Marvel's got those two ones that are pretty highly anticipated by people, but there is the fatigue. There is the idea of like a lot of people even if you liked parts of Phase 4, a lot of people agree that it was not the strongest phase, right? Because they had to set up a lot of new stuff. They do have a lot of characters now that they can utilize. For instance, because they did the Black Widow movie, because they did Falcon Winter Soldier, they can do Thunderbolts and it will make a little bit more sense. Now, do you need to have watched Falcon and Winter Soldier when we watch Thunderbolts? I don't know. But we need to know that dynamic between Bucky and John Walker, U.S. agent, right? You got to understand that history there. And I am excited, too, to see, I always want to call her Elaine Bennis, but is it Julia Louis-Dreyfus?
Louis-Dreyfus.
Yeah, very excited to see her actually have a role and not just a cameo, and see like what they're going to be doing to utilize her character in the series. So I get it. Like there's other things on the horizon. Fantastic Four, Blade. There are things that get me excited, but Thunderbolts just isn't it. And it's because to me, it's not really reflecting what Thunderbolts is to me, but what Thunderbolts is to me was the Thunderbolts of 20 years ago. You know what I'm saying? And that's not what Thunderbolts has been. Now that I think about it, for the duration of that brand for Marvel, it's mostly kind of been a Suicide Squad type thing. I feel like that's the vibe they're going to go for. I don't know. We'll see. So excited may not be the right word, but I am excited to see how some of these characters are going to interact. I want to see Red Guardian again. I thought he was the best.
Yeah, I mentioned that. I really liked his character, but I think what you're talking about is kind of a part of a bigger problem. And I think Mark McGrath put it best. John Wick is maybe the best and only new IP that's connected with the public. And that's the problem. And the problem is there isn't enough out there for us to connect with, because you think about it. So Trade Paper Dad, I'll definitely watch Creed 3, but again, you're playing off something that goes as far back as Rocky, and I think that's, I don't know. That's what I'm kind of just, I'm not going to get really excited about any of this, because there isn't anything original about the IP. I think that was the magic of John Wick. They gave us something that we'd never seen before, a storyline that we hadn't really seen before. Do assassins really have like neutral places that they can go to, like the Continental? I mean, it was a new concept, and it took it. Megan, yeah, that's true, Marcus. I haven't seen that yet, but I've heard good things about it.
They've already approved a sequel for that one, I believe, for 2025.
Yeah, I've heard that too. But how far away, is that from Chucky? I don't know. Okay, again, I haven't seen the movie, so I think that the audience is starved for something original, new content. Okay, because even the ones we're excited about, like Dune, like Top Gun Maverick, you're still playing off, like Avatar: The Way of Water. You're still playing off something that already exists.
Yeah. Well, we had that conversation a few months ago where we were talking about that Matt Damon statement, right? And you disagree in an element of that statement, but the part that I think is very true is that studios are now way less likely to fund and market and promote anything that's not one of these kind of movies, because it's like they have to. And I guess one of the reasons too is these movies keep costing more and more, right? So like, instead of having this many resources for this many films, right? Now you have this many resources for only this many films, because you got to have your 5 tentpole projects. You got to compete with Marvel. You got to compete with what Harry Potter did. You got to compete with the Batman movies. And it's like, we're not getting this original content.
No, I still disagree with the Matt Damon statement. And the reason is he's looking at it from a revenue standpoint. But here's the thing. Okay, that's always been the case. But the only thing was that you didn't have it's been this way since probably the inception of movies. And, right about that time when actors were no longer tied to studios and began to negotiate their own salaries, when that major seismic shift happened in Hollywood, you've seen the same thing over and over again. No studio, no one is willing to invest in an unknown, the indie productions, whatever. So what ends up happening is they have to scrape together, work on a very low budget to try to put something together. But there was more of that in the past than there is today. That's what I'm feeling. Okay. There were more original ideas to get out there. You're right, though, Missing Link. But to a certain extent, technology has also made it a little bit easier. Okay. And I thought we were almost on the cusp of that with Blair Witch Project way back then. But somehow that got swallowed up by the studios as well. Even though I thought Blair Witch Project was horrible. It was just an absolutely horrible movie. It was the only movie I've ever watched that gave me motion sickness. Okay. And that lead actress, she really needed to trim those nose hairs. I'm sorry. All right.
Nose hair shaving.
We need nose hair trimming. Okay. All right. I know it's not a big budget film, but I think they could have afforded some clippers there. Okay.
I just want everybody to know the real reason why Rex is always so far away from his camera is because he doesn't want to be judged from his own nose hairs. I just want to say
we don't have the budget for the clippers. But I think that what Blair Witch Project did was it showed us a new way to market a movie. And that's what they did extraordinarily well. And that was something that I thought could have kind of grasped that and run with it and given more opportunities to smaller films, independent films, without the big studio. But somehow that didn't happen. So I don't know.
Yeah, and it does still happen. And I see people talking about they just go on streaming, they're smaller films. They still make these films, right? I was just recently talking about The Banshees of Inisherin, which came out last year. My favorite movie of last year. I love that movie. And I have to sometimes remind myself that these movies still get made. We were talking about Megan, and I loved what Mark was saying about 99 was a good year because it had that excitement for the new and old with The Matrix and Phantom Menace kind of coming out. There was the nostalgia for Star Wars, but The Matrix felt like it was something original and new. Yeah. And I still think The Matrix is the Star Wars of my generation, right? That is a moment that I got the stories. I saw it multiple times in the theaters and all that kind of stuff. So I in horror, that still happens because last year, yes, we still got the reboots. We still got the requels. We had the Scream movie. We had the Halloween Ends, right? You have all those things that are based on IPs, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the Netflix one, which I liked. You have those films, but you also had other things like X and Pearl and Barbarian and even The Black Phone. I didn't like The Black Phone as much as other people. And of course, that's based on a short story by Joe Hill. But in horror, that content exists. And even in the lesser... So, yeah, the people that do still go to the theaters, the ones that make the big money, it's these big, explosive things like Thunderbolts, hopefully, is what they're banking on, right? But people do pay attention to their streaming services. I haven't seen the menu yet, and I really want to, but it has elaborated my heart. It has enhanced joy in my heart to see people talking about it online and not just talking about the latest Marvel movie or the latest DC, and not saying anything against Marvel and DC movies. We love them, but I like these other movies too. And The Northman was awesome, Mark. I loved The Northman. That was one of my favorites of last year too.
Well, there are some, at least in terms of streaming, you see some imaginary, innovative stuff come out, I think. And that's been nice to see, but they keep canceling them. One I was upset about was The Nevers. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the premise of it. There was another one. I can't remember the name of it. Oh, geez. Kind of a fantasy, sorcery type of thing. I just can't remember the name of the movie or the name of the series now. But I haven't seen that renewed either. So, and now you have the streaming services actually cutting down the library of stuff. I think we talked about that a little bit last week. So it's kind of moving in the wrong direction. And somebody said, who was it? Trade Paper Dad. I'm going to have to disagree with you. I think we do need new IP. because without the new IP, the road you're going down, eventually it's probably what the topic of the day is a microcosm of that. Okay, why are we not excited about Thunderbolts? Okay, why are we not overly excited about anything that the MCU's thrown out there this year? Because it is oversaturated. Okay, it is essentially the same story. Now, granted, what they discovered in the MCU in the beginning was, if I intertwine these stories, I can make a bigger universe, and I can drag them in to watch movie after movie after movie. But you've now done it, and now you're still doing it, and now we're desensitized to that technique as well. Go, yeah, you're going to drag. Okay, all right. Do we have to watch Falcon and Winter Soldier? Blah, blah, blah. All of these things intertwining, so that even that's getting kind of tired. And without the new IP, where do you get things like The Matrix, John Wick? Okay,
yeah,
it seems like the time between those types of things is becoming longer and longer.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, John Wick felt refreshing. Like, I actually didn't watch John Wick until like 2 years ago, and I watched 1, 2, and 3, and I was just like, why have I not seen these films? Like, it's awesome. And it started a new franchise because it was compelling. It was cleverly written. It was well performed. It's an action movie that's shot the way action movies should be shot, with wide angles so you can see everything. And it doesn't, because how many times have you heard people say, oh, I hate modern day action movies and superhero movies because they just do that quick cut, close action stuff. But Hollywood doesn't like listen to that, I guess, because they're still making money. But like, that was refreshing to see. John Wick felt a little bit more old school, but still felt new, right? And we do need more stuff like that. We need studios to take chances on that. And that's what star power is good for, because that movie already had a built-in audience, right? Because it's a revenge flick and it's got Keanu Reeves in it, right? So
yeah, exactly. I think this is the point, is that and John Wick is a great example of it, but what happened to those one-shot films? Not everything has to be a sequel. Sometimes one film story is told, it's excellent. And the one that strikes me, that comes to mind, okay, which I thought was an incredibly original, hilarious film, okay, My Blue Heaven, all right, with Steve Martin. That was, you don't need a sequel. There shouldn't be a sequel. It was a one-shot deal. Okay, it made a parody of it during a period of time when there were a lot of gangster movies coming out, right? A lot of mob movies that were coming out. And it took a shot at that in the funniest way possible. And it was just bang, one shot, one movie. That's it. Okay, people loved it. It was great fun to watch. You watch it a few times. It was a great movie, and that's it. You move on. Mark McGrath, yeah, I guess the Gru Minions, but that's animation, and if IP hooks on for animation, there's going to be a number 2 and a number 3 and number 4 and number 5, and I mean, my God, how many versions of Toy Story? They even took Toy Story and turned it into a serious, a serious kind of movie. They're trying to milk that IP for every angle that it has. Oh, how about let's do a serious version of it? What? It was a kids movie. It was a great movie. It was great for what it was. And now let's make a serious Buzz Lightyear. Why?
I have actually heard that movie's not too bad. I like what Steph says, is like, nobody but Keanu's had that many career revivals. And I guess that if you want to launch a new IP, just get Keanu attached to it, because he's been responsible for some really great franchises. He's been in there, and maybe Berserk will work out for him. But do you think that, because I think so, do you think that the studios and even the audience is relying too much on trusted IPs? Like we're not getting those one and done kind of films as much to hit as big as they used to, because everybody does. They want to make a franchise, and that's the wrong way to do it. Make a good movie. You know what I'm saying? Like, were they thinking about sequels when they made Knives Out? Maybe they had ideas, but I think you can tell in that movie they just focused on trying to make that a good movie, and then they did a sequel, and it's good, and it has its own kind of vibe to it. So
yeah, I see it's coming up about Avatar, and Trade Paper Dad says we don't need sequels. Trade Paper Dad, I don't need sequels to every movie that's ever made that people like. The studios do, maybe. All right, the executives do. They want a sequel because even if it sucks, let's be honest, they're gonna laugh all the way to the bank. So
yeah,
I get it.
It is over 2 billion now. 2
Yeah,
billion. Now, the technical aspect is why I think people are going in droves to see Avatar. I don't necessarily think it's anything to do with the story. You know what I'm saying?
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. The Avatar. So we're gonna get 2. He says 3's already in the can, and all, so on and so forth. The problem is that if the movie business continues down the path it's continuing down, then even something like Avatar becomes impossible. For me, I want to see Avatar 2 because I felt like there's more story to tell. Okay, so I want to see it, but again, it was the original IP that made me excited about this. See, that was the thing. It was the original movie. I'm going, what a concept.
Well, and another thing about it is, okay, Avatar makes $2 billion, so everybody wants to replicate that now. Well, how many Avatars can you make? Like, James Cameron's taken, 20 years to make this movie? Yeah,
and good for him. You know why? Yeah, good for him. And Missing Link, I was just about to bring that up. Good for him. Because Titanic, all right, there's no question that Cameron can make epics, okay? Kind of in the vein of Cecil B. DeMille, okay? He can make epic films. And what I loved about Titanic, again, singular story. And it made money, okay? You don't need a Titanic 2.
I think we needed a Titanic 2, and it needed to involve space aliens. That's my pitch, but James wasn't listening.
There we go. So, you know what I mean? So the question becomes, Taylor, thank you. The question becomes, every time another sequel and another sequel and another sequel is made, it pushes out the ability of new IP, all right? So if it's not James Cameron bringing Avatar to the table, does that film get made? And the only reason James Cameron could get that film made was because he made Titanic. But anybody else I'm imagining really, really tall, long blue people on an alien planet, and human beings are the bad guys. Okay, Marcus, I didn't know that. I'm glad I didn't watch it. That would have disappointed me so much.
Oh my goodness, there is a Titanic 2.
I imagine James Cameron was not the director.
No, it looks like it's a comedy, but Jack's alive. Wow, I'm gonna have to check this one out.
but you see, my point is that if you're not James Cameron coming off of Titanic, does this film get made? All right. Yeah, a lot of people want to say Avatar is a copy of this, Avatar is a copy of that, and that's fine. You can say that. Every story that's ever told has its basis on something else. Every sci-fi movie that's ever made is based predominantly on the original sci-fi movie, Journey to the Moon or whatever, where they shoot it out of a cannon, it hits the moon in the eye.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many stories. I mean, these are also just common themes that reflect through all of story, throughout all of the things. Like the idea of the outsider going native, right? That's basically what Avatar is playing with the Dances with Wolves, Pocahontas, even a little bit of that, Fern Gully. Like, there's a lot of movies that do that.
You see, so I'm going to touch on this because this has been said a lot. Okay, so Avatar is Dances with Wolves, Avatar is a Last Samurai. Okay, and all of these things. It's not because what you're describing is human struggle, a more powerful group of people subjecting a weaker group of people, and usually the more powerful group of people are more technologically advanced. That's not a new theory. You go back to the beginning of movies, the beginning of books, there's somebody talking about that. That's human existence. Okay? It's happening right now in Ukraine. That's just human existence. So you can tell the story however you want, but there's some common themes in life, and that's one of them. Okay? Big, powerful bully subjects weaker group of people, weaker nation, weaker whatever, weaker planet. Okay? And that's just making a comment. But how do you tell that story? So Dances with Wolves, they told it in way too long a fact. Okay, that movie was way too long. All right, but it was a good movie, and it was a piece of history. The Last Samurai, same thing. Okay, piece of history. So they copied a piece of history. They just basically took a point in history, dramatized it, and made a movie. So Avatar at least took the same common theme and came up with a whole new canvas for it. All right. The idea that, number one, you're not on an alien planet. Number two, these people are connected to life on a planet. Okay. In the ultimate kind of bios universe, if you will. Okay. The cycle of life. We're actually connected to it. We can talk to it. Okay. The interesting aspect of what do you do? Okay. These people are bigger. We can't breathe the air. So we're going to try to relate to these people by creating avatars that look like them and are, are them and pop into it. That to me is the original IP of the story. Okay. Nature versus technology, which is another common human existence theme. So I disagree that when people say, oh, it copies Dances with Wolves. No, it doesn't. Dances with Wolves took place in the Old West. Okay. All right. With the indigenous population in the United States. And it is a dramatization of our history. Last Samurai is as well. During a period of time when Imperial Japan had to shift, right? So to me, they're all the same theme, and of course, movies have interest to people because they have that human theme, that human element.
I never realized quite how passionate you were about Avatar, my friend. So.
Well, it's not just Avatar, really. It's the whole concept of movie making. It's upsetting because we're getting to a point now where everyone is so risk adverse, and of course, you've got a bunch of executives that are running the business. They are risk adverse. They want to make money. They're dependent on profit. But there's always been some creative person with a vision of some type, in a direction. But it's coming to the point where only a Cameron can get it done because he has that muscle, okay, to be able to force his way through it. So, I don't know. All right. So
well, you got me wanting to rewatch Avatar, actually, which is like the first time that's ever happened in my life. So
there you go. Yeah. There you go. Taylor Winder, that's a valid point as well.
Oh, that's
okay?
100%.
That is a valid point that you're making. But again, that's part of history to a certain extent, because the savior has got to be in a position to be able to save. Right now, what I do like about Avatar in that, yes, it is another white savior, but it touched on it in a sense that he was clearly a handicapped individual, okay, and he was doing it for not a necessarily noble reason when he started. Okay, he was doing it to try and get he touched on so many things, to get his legs back. Well, this is something that I've read articles about, human organ smuggling and stuff.
Yeah.
So the question becomes, that's another comment in society in that film I thought was interesting. He's not going to get his legs back, even though he was in the military, because he doesn't have the money for it. But if he does this job, okay, because his twin brother suddenly died, then guess what? We'll get your legs back. Yeah. That's a commentary. That's commentary on a lot of things, and that's what I believe movies should entertain, but there should be some sort of commentary as well. Really, really good films have a commentary.
Oh, absolutely.
Even Titanic to a certain degree, how different people acted, how
class was a big deal.
Were closed in third class, right? Yeah. Steerage, they couldn't get out, right? I think that's the magic, and I think that to me was a magic with that was a magic that I think Avatar brought. Mark McGrath, I feel you, brother. I really wanted John Carter to work too, and that sucked. I
actually liked.
I did not like John Carter at all.
I like the John Carter movie, and I wish we could have gotten more, but it could have been better. I don't think it was great. I don't think it was amazing.
I don't know, Missing Link. I would agree they did suck at advertising it, but I got to be honest with you, it could have been good, and it just wasn't. I don't know.
And if y'all need more Warlord of Mars and Deja Thoris and John Carter, Dynamite's got a ton of books that are pretty solid. So just saying, since half of us are at Dynamite offices right now, might as well plug that, right?
Missing Link, I will. I will rewatch it. Everything felt really red too. I don't know. It kind of gave me a headache a little bit.
Well, they're on Mars.
I know that, but it kind of. But I'll watch it again. I'll tell you what. I'll watch it again. We'll have a discussion on another Friday show.
Yeah, you watch that again. I'll watch Avatar, and we'll compare notes. I'll rewatch Avatar. You rewatch John Carter.
So Billy Powermax, why are they trying to be a savior? And if it's not a savior, what should they be? I have no problem with them being a savior. Okay, I think that's always a story that people want to hear. You want to know that people, I don't want to watch a movie where he wasn't able to save anybody and everybody got annihilated. Wow, that's depressing. Okay, let me go get that bottle of bourbon now. I've watched this movie. Okay, should there be movies like that? Maybe. I don't know. Would that be something I necessarily want to watch? Maybe not.
Yeah, I think that maybe the point is that there was just so many of them for so long, in particular, like especially when a movie would try to elaborate or explore another culture, they would do it in kind of that exploitative way almost, where it's like, you got the white savior who's comes in and has to like help them out and things. I can see that being tiresome to people, especially after decades of it.
I would say I would sort of agree with you, but then you also have to think, how do we get people to come in and watch it? So when you look at Last Samurai, okay, it was odd, but I would almost look at it a little bit more as Tom Cruise provided the guide, okay? Because if they didn't have Tom Cruise, would anybody go out and watch the film in this market? Okay, that becomes the overwhelming question. So because if they did, then Kurosawa would have been a huge hit here, and I guarantee you that most Americans don't know who Kurosawa is. All right, but that the man was a brilliant director and directed brilliant, tons of brilliant films.
Directed some of the best films in the history of cinema.
Exactly. But very few people even know who he is. So in a sense, I understand the meaning, but I look at it from a different perspective. Tom Cruise became the guide, the storyteller to tell this story, this moment in history in Japan. Okay. And without your storyteller, would people have understood it? Or would people have watched it? Because in a sense, Tom Cruise's character, his confusion, he was captain, I forget his name. His confusion over certain things, okay, and certain interactions, like the very first time he meets, I forget the actor's name and I forget the character's name.
Ken Watanabe, right?
Yeah, Ken Watanabe. When they had a short conversation, and Watanabe says, good conversation, and walks away. Tom Cruise's confusion was probably similar to the audience that the movie was appealing to. So you needed Tom Cruise to guide you through to understand, oh, okay, so that's how it works. So I look as more of a guide as opposed to a savior. And if you watch the movie carefully, he lent some ideas in terms of the final battle, which they still lost. Okay. But most of the movie was Tom Cruise learning about that culture and these people and what they were trying to say. And it was through his eyes that the story was being told. So I think to just say it's yet another white savior is an oversimplification of what it was. Dances with Wolves, kind of same thing.
That's a bit reductive just to put it down to that, because I think intent of the story has a lot to do with it as well. And and how they go about the execution,
my only problem with Dances with Wolves is it's clear Kevin Costner doesn't know how to edit a film. Okay. Dude, way too long, bro.
Yeah,
okay.
I can't
get 30 minutes off that film and it still would have been fine.
Yeah, I do not like Dances with Wolves. I do not like Wyatt Earp. That era of Kevin Costner in particular, I just cannot stand. All those movies.
One movie I actually enjoyed.
What's
Waterworld.
that?
One of his movies. I liked Waterworld. I don't know why, but that was. I'll be the first one to say that one was too long too.
Yeah,
it's like, dude, come on. A little bit more cutting in the editing room. We don't need all that.
I haven't seen Waterworld in forever. TMX, what's up? Excited for the lineup of Thunderbolts. We were at one point talking about Thunderbolts, weren't we? And yes, mostly
way off, didn't we?
Yeah, this is a great conversation though, and this is a pretty long show. We just hit 50 minutes. Of course, I wasn't here for like 10 of it. Rex, thank you for being here. So to oversimplify, we're not super excited for Thunderbolts, and we just kind of talked about a lot of the reasons maybe why, and got to talk about the current state of cinema, which was actually a really great conversation, Rex. So thank you for that.
It looks like a lot of the viewers like Waterworld. You might want to do that as a movie review, buddy.
Oh man. I knew that this day would come one day that somebody would ask me to do Waterworld.
Look at Robbie's face, man. It's like I asked him, "Hey, buddy, I'm moving next weekend. Can you help me?"
It was the exact reaction. What's coming up for y'all, Rex? Nick got his show, right?
We got Nick tonight at 7 p.m. on The Experience, the original art show. You'll be back with us on Monday at 6 p.m. on The Experience for our weekly show. And then big surprise, just found out yesterday, Wednesday when we have Alec with us, AR Comics, Ken Hazer's going to be in the house.
Oh, so I'm so jealous.
Yep. So he's going to be, well, you can always join us, man. Anytime you want. You're always welcome.
You got to let Ken know that Mondays is the cool night.
I'll be sure to tell him.
Yes, please do. I'll tell him.
But yeah, so that's what we got coming up. And, obviously you have your movie review on Monday. What do you got going on this weekend?
Well, tomorrow night, we're going to be on Dylan's Horror Show. We're going to be talking about Misery. Very excited to revisit this one. It's been a few years since I've seen it. And then Monday night.
I can't stand that scene, dude. I can't.
Oh, with the hobbling or whatever?
Oh, dude, with the ankle. Oh, no. Great movie, though.
It's so great, man. And yeah, great movie. And Monday night, we're talking about Taxi Driver for our very first Martin Scorsese PCP movie night. So it's been like 15 years since I've seen Taxi Driver. So I'm very excited to dive back into that. And
Martin Scorsese, great director.
Yeah,
sure. Marcus, yeah, that one scene. That movie was so well cast, though. Kathy Bates was just so not the kind of psycho you thought, right? And then James Caan, always the tough guy, is the guy who's like completely helpless. That was well cast too.
Yeah. And Steph, we already did Street Fighter, but maybe we'll have to do it again because it was before we did the live movie night. So it was one where we just filmed it in the studio. But we did do Street Fighter. So if you want to hear our thoughts on Street Fighter, go check that out because I'm pretty sure I gave it a perfect score, which is, I don't know what's wrong with me sometimes when I'm rating movies. Anyway, Rex, thank you so much. Chat, thank you so much. We appreciate it. We are dipping out. Be sure to check out The Experience and all those awesome shows. Link in the description below. Station